welcome back to Starlight Studio. This is class number 9 in the Photoshop for Beginners series, and in this class we're going to be focusing on two tools. Now those tools are going to be the healing brush tool and the patch tool. Okay, so without wasting much time, let's get straight into Photoshop. As you can see, I have my workspace here, and I have this image within my workspace, which is not my image. It came with Photoshop 6, and I still have that image on my laptop, and I'll be using this image for this particular tutorial. I do not own the copyrights to this image. By all means, go away, find some old and vintage images from the internet, or better would be to ask your parents for any old images they might have, or your grandparents that they might have images that are full of blemishes, scratches, like so. Okay, and work with those images and see if you can restore those images like we're about to do today in this Photoshop for Beginners class, using the healing brush tool and the patch tool. So without further ado, let's see where these tools are. On the left side of your workspace, you'll have your tools and one of the icons that looks like a plaster or a band-aid, this icon here, and as you hover your mouse over that icon, it should say healing brush tool or whatever tool that you've selected within the healing tools. Okay, now if you right click, you've got spot healing, healing brush tool, patch tool. We are going to be focusing on these two tools here because this spot healing brush works slightly differently, although it can be applied to these images. Okay, but this is normally used for, say, portraiture work. So if you have any portraits and your subject has, say, some pimples or scars on their face, you can actually use the spot healing brush, but it works slightly differently. But for this tutorial, we're going to be working with the healing brush tool and the patch tool. Okay, now that we've discovered where the tool is, or where the tools are based, let's move across to the right side of the interface or the workspace and go into our layers. There's the layers, and we have the original image. As always, we work non-destructively, so we'll work with layers. We'll open up a layer, just a blank layer. Make sure your layer is highlighted, and let's name this healing brush. Okay, let's open up another layer to make our life easy, and we'll call it patch tool. Let's turn that off for the time being, as we will be working with a healing brush for the time being. Okay, now making sure right click, healing brush is selected, your layer is selected. Here you have sample. Okay, make sure you have current and below or all layers selected, because we want to sample bits from the layers beneath the healing brush, because the healing brush is a blank layer. Okay, swiftly moving on. Now that we have the layer selected, our tool selected, and all layers selected, now how does the healing brush work? Very similar to the clone stamp tool. Very similar to. Okay, let me just increase the size of the brush. Okay, the same methodologies will apply to the healing brush as it was applied to the clone stamp tool. So you pick a source point, Alt and left click down, make sure your source point is selected, release the left click and the Alt, move over to your area that you'd like to hide, and just drag your mouse across it. Okay, now once again, just remember to increase and decrease the size of your brush as and when required. Okay, now just for the purpose of this tutorial, I'll be swiftly going through this image and try to restore this image. Okay, but remember, when you do your practice, to increase and decrease the size of the brush, decreasing and increasing as per the size of the patch that you require. And remember to pick a source point closer to the point that you're trying to cover, because the image will be almost matching. Okay, we don't want to bring parts from this side here onto this side here. We'd rather use source points closer to the blemish that we're trying to cover. So for example, this blemish here, I'd pick a source point, alt left click down, release my alt and left click, and then hover my mouse over the blemish, and it sort of fades in well to that side, because the colors, the contrast, the lighting on this side was slightly different to the lighting on this side. Okay, so remember to often increase and decrease the size of your brush and pick source points closer to the blemishes that you're trying to cover. Okay, at this point I'm going to speed up my video. Okay, right, as you can see, just by using one tool, one of the healing tools, which is the healing brush tool, look what we've managed to achieve just by using that one tool. We've managed to clear up quite a bit of the background from those blemishes. Okay, so once again I'm going to speed up my video, still working with the healing brush tool. As you can see, we've managed to clear up a fair bit just by using one of the healing tools, which was the healing brush tool. Now swiftly moving on to the patch tool and see how that works. Okay, now the patch tool works very similar to, now if those of you that watched the selection tool where we had the lasso tool, the polygonal lasso tool and the magnetic lasso tool, okay, the concept behind it, it works very similar to the lasso tool. Okay, now for example, let me move over to this patch here, on the jacket. Now right click down, you select your lasso tool, make sure you're in sample all layers, it's checked, make sure your patch tool is selected. Now all you need to do is draw with a lasso around the area. Once you complete that selection, you will get these marching ants. Now once you're within your marching ants, your selected area, left click down within your selected area and move and drag your mouse outside to an area you think would be enough or similar to cover that patch, and then release your mouse. Once you release, Control and D to deselect the area, and as you can see, it's actually hidden that blemish. Now if I was to deactivate that patch tool that we've just applied, this was the original image for the blemish, and with the patch tool we've managed to conceal it. Now once again, let's move to another area, say this particular blemish here, on the jacket. Once we have an area, and let's move it slightly down, and then release the mouse, Control D, and we've managed to hide that blemish as well. There's another blemish here. Select it. Once you get the marching ants, move your mouse within the marching ants or the selected area or the active area, left click down and move your mouse up, down, and wherever you think would be a better fit. And I think that should do it. Control and D. Okay, once again I'm going to speed up the video while I actually apply the patch tool to some of the areas on the jacket. Okay, as you can see, we've managed to remove quite a few of the blemishes just applying the patch tool. Okay, swiftly moving on, there's a couple of patches. There's a patch here, a patch here, and a patch just above the hair. Now we will focus into this patch here. It's like I said, whatever tool that you guys feel comfortable with, apply that tool. I'm going to try the healing brush tool to start with, so let's have a look. Healing brush tool, I'll select this to the source point because it's quite close to it, and here, let's go here, and okay, so we managed to cover that patch up. Okay, now you see here this bit just protruding us just off the shoulder. I will give you another example. Okay, now I want to use another tool just for the purpose of this tutorial to make you guys aware how this tool could be applied here. Now, for example, we're in our clone stamp tool is highlighted. Make sure all layers is selected, and let's go into clone stamp tool. Let's go slightly zoom into that image, and let's pick this as a source point. There we are. Just by using a different tool, we've managed to get the result without actually disturbing the original image too much. Very delicate work. Okay, as you can see, we've managed to remove that by using another tool, which is the clone stamp tool. Now, those of you that actually watched the previous tutorial, which was based on the clone stamp tool, they would have had a good understanding of how to use that tool. Once again, there's a couple of patches left, which is one is just up here and another patch just on the ear. So let's focus in into the ear and see if we can rectify that issue by the ear. Okay, so we'll use the clone stamp again, and let's pick up a source point close to that area, and so and there we are. Now, also moving in just above the hairline, we had another little patch that was this little bit here. Let's zoom in slightly closer, and let's pick this as a source and see if we can copy the pixels. And as you can see, we've managed to clean up the image a fair bit. Okay, this was the original image. By applying the healing brush, we managed to clean up a fair bit of the background. We could have also applied the healing brush to the clothes, but I wanted to show you how to use the patch tool as well. So now apply using the patch tool how we remove the blemishes from the jacket of the gentleman. That's with the patch tool off, and that's with the patch tool on. Okay, and now we had some blemishes here and on the ear. We applied or used the clone stamp tool to remove some of those blemishes, and once we activate the layer, this is the result that we achieved. So as you can see, original image, and this is what we've restored. Okay, hopefully you've understood the concepts of how to use the healing brush, the patch tool, and obviously those that have actually seen the clone stamp in the previous tutorial. I'll put a link somewhere on the video so you guys can actually go and watch that if you haven't seen it. Like always, if you don't have this image or access to this image, find an image from the internet, download an image from the internet, and see if you can work with it. Even better would be to ask your parents or your grandparents for some old images that have blemishes, they're worn, torn. See if you can restore those images for them. I'm sure they'll be more than happy once they receive the restored image, because these are memories for them. So like I said, go away, do your practice runs, as practice makes perfect. And remember guys, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and hit the bell icon. So take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in class number 10. Adios amigos.